I've known you for quite some time. I remember meeting you in Baltimore. And, I've never asked, how did you get started in lighting?
Being a rebellious teenager, sneaking out to nightclubs and raves. I was about 15 and just trying to have fun as a teenager. I snuck out to my first party. It was an underground rave party at a nightclub called Rise at the point in downtown Baltimore. And excusing the pun, I literally saw the light. Up until that point, I wanted to be a sound engineer. I was always interested and intrigued by music and MIDI notes and the technical side behind music creation. And during those first couple of weeks and months of doing this on the weekends, I literally saw the light of something that absolutely blew my mind. I came from an electrical background. My father was an electrician, an electrical contractor. Mm-hmm. So I had a pretty firm understanding of how things were happening, but I didn't understand why. And I made a cold call to the industry's premier nightclub and rave lighting designer at that point, a gentleman by the name of Super Cal, who still works today. And he let me come out. My very first show, I ran some feeder, I hung from the balcony, I got the cable up, and after that, he showed me how to use a very small lighting controller at that point. And 2 hours later, I had my first chase.
You go from that experience, you're working for someone and doing your own thing, and you start to branch out. What was your first real big gig, your own show? What fixtures did you use? And does it still stick with you? My
first real big shows, the ones that I like to call mine and the ones that made the largest impression on me were the early days of the DC Northeast rave scene. Working with groups like Bass Rush and Ultra World, I was able to really get to express myself creatively, working with an amazing team at that point. From a creative side, it was a learning experience for everybody. It was the early days of some of these technologies, some of these moving lights, and I got to learn the basics of light, of timing at these events. Those are the events that molded me both as an individual and as a professional.
Now, you're a jaded professional. What's your thrill in the show, in what you're doing now? What is it that really captures you and keeps you hooked?
Well, there's two sides to that question. The first is, as anyone that works in this industry will say, it's the yelling of the crowd. The opening cue. I still sweat. I still get nervous on Q1 go. Every single show, no matter how many times I've done it, no matter how long I've had to program and design around it, it's always that thrill. It's an adrenaline rush. The things that really intrigue me the most are some of these weird and unusual integrations. We get some very interesting calls when people want to do something, but they just don't know how. And that applies to LED and video and lighting. So we're very fortunate in that we have that ability and the client's faith in us to R&D a project, not just products, but R&D a project from the ground up. From a musical standpoint, I still love dance music. I've seen it come and go over the past couple of years, and its popularity and its underground nature and its above ground nature and its commercialism. And it's still a music that I love because it's where I got my start from a musical standpoint and helped mold the person that I am today. Just the people, the culture, the lifestyle at that point. It's still something that I love today.
And you've been around, you've worked with some of the best in the industry, and you've seen a lot of different things in our industry. Give me your top 3 all-time favorite productions that you've seen, you've been to, you experienced. What would your top 3 be?
Well, I would say that the Pink Floyd Pulse is sort of the de facto of all things lighting. You watch that DVD, you watch those videos, and to this day, as a programmer, someone that gets to program 200 and 300 and 400 moving light shows and video and back end, it still blows my mind that they were able to take the care and the time to make that happen without the tools that we have today. Musically, I think my favorite show is Peter Gabriel, growing up live. It's so minimalistic, but so big and so huge from a design standpoint, and every aspect of that show was well before its time. For my personal career, I've had the incredible benefit of programming for the band Fish for the past year and some odd months, and we're getting ready to go back out again. That has been, from a technical side, a challenge each and every day. From a creative challenge point, Chris Carota, the lighting designer, pushes us each and every day to make things that are new and interesting and really flex the power of the console and the lights that we're using. There are a lot of happy mistakes on that show each and every day, and he gives us the benefit of taking 2 and 3 and 4 hours a day to program a single look or a single trick. And it's an ever-changing show. From when I start a tour to the time we end, the console is wildly different from a playback standpoint, from what we have on each individual page, the effects, the tricks, the cue lists. Very little of that show is cue to cue, and those that are can be 100 to 200 cues for a 10-minute song.
Finish this sentence for me, if you would, Scott. A show without light is?
Not a show you're going to see me at. No, kidding aside, it's become an integral part of any production these days, whether it be a theatrical show, whether it be an auto show. We've all heard the saying, without light it's just radio, and it really is the case. So many of the bands and performers that we work with, and just industry-wide, lighting technology has really become, a fifth member of the band in some cases. And without it, you really do just have radio. There's a very select few performers and artists that could do a show without light, and I commend those guys. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with some of those folks. But a show without light is just that. It's a performance.
I know you recently moved down here to South Florida. I know you've spent a lot of time down here over the past several years. A lot of work down this way. I know you occasionally have a little bit of free time. What does Scott do in his free time?
My time off is really spent with my kids and my family. We all work in this industry, very hard, tedious schedules. And as my kids start to grow up, I'm realizing that I want and need to spend time with some of my best friends. Aside from that, my life revolves around production and industry. Even when I do get to do things with the family, I'm always paying attention. I want to go to places that intrigue me as much as they do them. Places like Disney and the theme parks and the amusement parks. I'm as intrigued to see this stuff from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint. But my time alone is really with the family.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate your time.
I'm glad to be here, Jamie. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us in, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
You're good.
Thanks a lot.